Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until our country's representatives can figure out what the hell is going on.
When he first announced it, he said Muslim ban. He called me up. He said, put a commission together. Show me the right way to do it legally.
The first time President Trump's travel ban went to court, those words you just heard were used in the argument to block that ban from being enacted. Lawyers argued they showed Trump intended to target Muslims. And now many experts say what we saw from the president on Twitter could become Exhibit A in the next potential legal battle at the Supreme Court for the revamped ban. Here they are again tonight. He wrote, "That's right. We need a travel ban for certain dangerous countries," not some politically correct term that won't help us protect our people. It came after this message this morning. People, the lawyers, and the courts can call it whatever they want, but I am calling it what we need and what it is, a travel ban. Then, the Justice Department should have stayed with the original travel ban, not the watered-down, politically correct version they submitted to the Supreme Court. And this, the Justice Department should ask for an expedited hearing on the watered-down travel ban before the Supreme Court and seek a much tougher version. We have a pair of prominent attorneys joining us. Former federal prosecutor and an assistant Watergate prosecutor, Nick Ackerman, is here with us. And the chief ethics lawyer in the Bush 43 White House, Richard Painter, is back with us on the broadcast. Gentlemen, welcome to both of you. Nick, if you were appointed Solicitor General, the government's lawyer before the Supreme Court, and I asked you to make the case for a travel ban, how would these tweets hurt your case?
They would destroy my case.
How so?
This is not only Exhibit A against me, but it's Exhibit A, B, C, and D. First of all, the government has been making the argument from the beginning that Trump was simply talking on the campaign trail, that these were discussions that he did in terms of the campaign, and it's different when he's president. What this shows is that it is not different when he's president. He is still doing the same thing. When he talks about political correctness, it is really just a dog whistle for trying to keep Muslims out of the United States. He's really going back to the exact same thing that he has said on the campaign trail. And if I were the Solicitor General and I had to argue this, I would be absolutely beside myself. He has totally undercut it. And on top of it all, they claimed in the beginning it would take 90 to 120 days to really determine what kind of actions they could take to have really extreme vetting. Well, that 120 days has passed. Presumably, they've done everything they should have done during those 120 days up to this point. So what is the whole point of this travel ban in the first place, if that was the justification? Again, I would submit this is just another pretext by this president to cover up what he's really trying to do, which is discriminate against Muslims coming into the United States.
Richard, what's your take on the ethics of what you see coming from the president?
Well, I certainly think the travel ban makes no sense. I mean, the United Kingdom has had experience with this before with the Irish Republican Army terrorist attacks, and you had Protestant groups which were also launching terrorist attacks as well. But the United Kingdom didn't impose a travel ban on all Catholics or all people of Irish descent. I mean, nobody ever considered that. This is an absurd approach to a problem of identifying people with violent tendencies who need to be excluded from entering the United States, regardless of what country they come from, regardless of what religion. And that's something they ought to be able to do without this type of travel ban. The real problem we have here for the lawyers in the Justice Department is that they have submitted papers to the Supreme Court that may very well be describing this travel ban very differently than the President of the United States. And the question is how much those lawyers knew about the president's intentions and his views, because he is the man who set this policy into motion, and whether the papers submitted to the Supreme Court are accurate factually, because if they're not, the justices are going to be upset, and very rightfully so, with the Justice Department. It's critically important that the president's lawyers, when they appear before the courts, accurately describe the policies being implemented by the president. Some of President Obama's lawyers got in trouble a little over a year ago down with a federal judge in Texas for misrepresenting some aspects of his immigration policies, and were sanctioned by the judge because of that. So we have yet to see how the Supreme Court is going to respond to this, whether the Justice Department is going to amend its papers to accurately reflect what the president is truly intending with this travel ban, because the justices have a right to know what's really going on when they make a critically important decision in a case such as this that has very, very important implications under the First Amendment with respect to freedom of religion and a Fifth Amendment due process.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.